magazine stories sharing his practical approach to preservation. Ron shares his story in his book, Flip This Town, Preservation Made Practical, on Main Street, USA, giving inspiration to small towns all across America. Please help me welcome Ron Drake.
So we don't ever go to Tulsa down to 75 to come, so I never really had a reason to come to this region of Oklahoma. And but I remember when I got here, I'm a downtown guy and I restored a lot of buildings and all of this stuff, and I go to other small towns and try to help them with their downtowns, and I remember just seeing how incredible these buildings were. I mean, I don't know if you've ever really taken the time, but I would encourage you to just go on a slow walk and just really look at the detail of these buildings that are in downtown Okmulgee. They're unbelievable. They're unbelievable. One of the things I often say now is probably the best buildings I ever worked on in Silent Springs are in worse condition than some of the worst buildings here, because I quickly learned. I did some research. Okmulgee, as we all know, was a very successful and very wealthy community in the turn of the century because of oil and gas, and so it shows in the architecture of these buildings, and not just the ornateness, but in the strength. So I'm looking at these buildings, and I'm just thinking, number one, it's a shame how blighted they are. It's a shame how much they were boarded up, and still are. Some of them are. Again, when you start doing that walk and you look at the details, you're also going to get a little sad, because you're going to see a lot of broken glass, and you're going to see a lot of nasty plywood over window. You're going to see the blight too that's still here, although it's getting better. And I just remember thinking to myself, okay, this is like tremendous opportunity. I quickly looked past the blight, and I looked and I saw the opportunity. And so the more we started exploring the buildings, and Valerie, you remember how much fun it was walking through these second, third stories of these buildings, and I'm like, okay, these would make the most coolest lofts I've seen anywhere. I mean, the opportunity for really, really cool urban style lofts would be just phenomenal. But then, of course, who's going to live here? I mean, pretty much some of the research every year since about 1950, Okmulgee's been losing population. So why would people want to move downtown? So I'm going to also confess something here. Some of you maybe heard me say this before, but my first day, I think maybe the second day on my first trip that I was here, I had a meeting with like bankers and realtors and people that are involved in real estate and loaning money and insurance people and that sort of thing. And I was kind of excited, and I was with Heather, our Main Street director, who again, she was really doing the job. I think she'd only been here 3 or 4 months when I was there. So she was excited, I'm excited, wherever. We're going to this meeting, and by the time we were finished with the meeting, I was so depressed because everybody was saying how bad Okmulgee is. They were. Everybody was saying it. And they were saying, oh, we're not making any, bankers were like, we're not making any loans. If you want to buy a tractor, and you got 100 acres, we'll loan you some money for a tractor. But if you want to build a house or do something like that, we don't feel comfortable about that. And real estate's getting worse and worse. People are moving and leaving, and the rental market is just a bunch of slumlords. I mean, it was just like everything I was being bombarded with was negative. And I walked out of that meeting the first time and the only time, because I'll never do it again, because I learned. I told Heather, I said, I think I'm going to give you your money back. I can't help Okmulgee. This place is bad. And I'm sorry to say that, but that was really, it means something to me, because it was really what I was being told. It was really the attitude. Now, I kind of wear my emotions on my sleeve sometimes, and I say things without thinking, and I shouldn't have said that as a consultant to my customer right here, and maybe they'd already paid me, so I may not have given the money back. But anyway, but it was something, and so of course quickly I said, okay, we can get past this. Let's go to the next meeting. Let's try it. We're going to keep looking. We're going to keep digging, and it was really by circumstance that Dr. Path, president here at OSUIT, came to a meeting that night that I presented, and I was kind of being pretty transparent at that meeting too about what I saw, and in Okmulgee in terms of the blight and that sort of thing, and community pride. Huge, like I said, if I'm sitting with community leaders in a meeting and all they're talking about is how bad Okmulgee is, where is the pride in this community? And I called you guys on it, if you remember. But then we also talked about a lot of positive things that I know that can happen. I've been a part of communities and seen, what difference that pride makes. One of the things that I say is downtown restoration is much more than brick and mortar. It's a restoration of the mind. It's believing that you can do this. And it's hard for small towns to believe that. It's easier for bigger towns. There's more people, more demographics. There's an easier chance to borrow money from a bank and all of these things. But it was that meeting with Dr. Path when we came here the very next day. We didn't even have him on the agenda to meet. He came and said, hey, I want to talk to you about maybe students living downtown and learn more about the school. I was like, oh my gosh, there is that potential customer for the downtown. Now, I know, and you're going to learn, if you don't know already, you're going to start learning more and more, that it's not just students that want to live downtown, it's people that want to live downtown. It's a whole national trend. It's happening all over the place in Tulsa. You can't even afford, I can't afford, very few of us can afford to live in downtown Tulsa, for example, just 45 minutes away. It's the prime real estate now. So people want to live in downtown. And I was kind of hoping that if I could find a reason to convince someone to buy a building because we think that low-hanging fruit as a student, the reality is that we don't even know who that customer is. And so far, that's what's been proving to be true. The first apartments that have been sold are not students. Probably right now, I don't know, I'm gonna make this number up, it's probably somewhere around 10% of all the lofts that have been developed so far are actually rented by students. The other ones are just people, like all of us. Different age groups, kids, no kids. It's been amazing. And so for me, that's kind of part of that Okmulgee rising too, is taking, an idea like with a university, and then again, the president here being relatively new on the job, again, this synergy that was perfect at the time, and then getting Creek Nation involved and getting Main Street involved and the chamber involved, like Chris said, it seems like that what we're hearing for the first time in a long time, I don't know how long, but a long time, the community is all rallying behind behind this mantra of Okmulgee Rising. So a couple things I want to talk about like this. Number one, there's a lot of people that don't think this is going to work. You're going to leave tonight, you're going to go home, you're going to be excited, you're going to talk to your neighbor, and they're going to say, that's not going to work. We have to understand that Okmulgee has seen kind of a blighted path for quite a while. We've got now generations of people that have lived in Okmulgee that have not seen anything really too positive and exciting, so therefore it's easy to assume that it won't work. It'll work here, but it won't work here. There's going to be those, Chris gets faced with the critics all the time. People asking why he's doing what he's doing. I do. Who am I? Am I qualified to do this? I'm not qualified to do this. No way. There's no way I'm qualified to do this. And I don't have a PhD in communication. I don't even have a college education. What I have is a passion about what I do. And so therefore, what I've latched on early on is it's not the critic that counts. I don't know if you've heard that speech, one of President Roosevelt's most famous speeches. It's not the critic that counts. I'm not going to quote the speech, but it's basically along the lines, it's about the man who's actually in the arena, who's, he's Chris is a prime example. He shows up in his work clothes, he's marred with dust and sweat. He stinks just a little bit. I was sitting next to him. He's hurt. He's actually in the arena. He's in the arena. He's actually out there doing it. And I love the last part of his, when he says it, he's very bold. Roosevelt, he says, and not like one of those poor and timid souls who never knew victory nor defeat. We're going to win. This is going to work in Okmulgee. And I feel sorry for those that aren't a part of it. Sorry for those that don't believe and for those that don't get involved. So let's not listen to the critics. And then what else can we do is let's be a part. Let's play a part. part of this challenge is there's a lot about Okmulgee that really needs to be fixed. There's a lot about a lot of communities that need to be fixed, but Okmulgee has kind of just, again, found itself in this place of accepting less than acceptable ideals. And so the school, people I feel like the school needs to be fixed. Some people feel like Highway 75, the sign, what do they call that, Chris? The sign, not the sign clutter, the sign, there's a better word for that. Yeah, I'll think of it. There's a really good saying about all these just random signs and all this stuff over there. And the lack of sidewalks. And so how do we fix all of these things? Well, one of the things we talk about is this Okmulgee Rising. It began in the downtown. It began in downtown. Now, I think that's intentional. I personally think that's God's way of this, because which one of us could run a marathon if we have an unhealthy heart? You know, which one of us, if our heart is really dysfunctional, if our heart is dirty and all these things, can we run and do a marathon? And we couldn't. And so it's the same thing with the community. The downtown is the heart of Okmulgee. If you were going to put a postcard together and send it to whatever and try to find, it's the downtown. That's the part that has the most memories. That's the part where Okmulgee was founded. And so I think get the heart healthy first, and it'll ripple out to these other areas. I think that the downtown is a symbol of pride for Okmulgee. And so if you're proud of your downtown and you're seeing these buildings renovated and you're seeing the life downtown, I say that the best way, I think, to bring life downtown is to bring lives downtown, because what do these lives do? They bring energy. They bring vibrancy. They are causing already. There's there's 1, 2, 3, 4 restaurants already now downtown. One's about to open, Morty's, and 102 just opened, and it's fantastic. M Squared is fantastic. We all know Kirby's is great. Coleman's is great. There's starting to be more life into the downtown, and it will ripple into these other areas through pride and through just the sheer phenomenon that a community will be healthier if its heart is healthy. So get involved in the downtown. Go downtown and shop. There was the Truly Yours, I think. Somebody got a gift certificate. Great little spot. If you haven't been there yet, you're going to love it when you go there. There's some beautiful hair salons that have opened up down there. Now, I'm not trying to say don't go to any of these other ones on the bypass and those types of things. I'm just saying if you haven't spent time downtown, you do it. Bring your kids down there. Really try to just be a part of this Okmulgee Rising, because it is infectious. Okay, so my last. Yeah. Okay, so I will finish with this, that to me, and maybe this will bring in a little bit of Toastmasters too, which I've never been a Toastmaster, because I think this may be my first Toastmaster event I've ever gone to. Again, I'm really excited to be here, but to me, part of this Okmulgee Rising is we're telling a story. We're telling a story, not just. I think we're telling a story to the country, maybe the world. I think a big part of the country is going to hear about Okmulgee Rising. I really do. We've had a short stint with Discovery Studios in town and different things like that, and they were interested enough to come and have some pretty amazing producers here, and we're starting to get more and more press with the state of Oklahoma, Washington, D.C., the National Park Service. I ran into one of them at a conference, and they're like, what in the heck is going on in Okmulgee? Because of the historic rehabilitation tax credit projects. There's like 5 or 6 going on in Okmulgee right now. That's probably about as much as there is going on in Oklahoma City. So as we do this, let's think about this story. Let's think about what part do you want to play in the story? We all have this ability to play a part, to play a role in the story. This is an opportunity to be a part of something bigger than any of us can do alone. If you guys decide not to do anything, and Chris and I are like, okay, we're the only 2 left to do this, we cannot do this. We appreciate that we can be here and speak, but we can't do this. And we know that. and you know that. So this is an opportunity for each one of us to play a part in this story of Okmulgee Rising. I think it's going to be a beautiful story, and I do think that the country will hear about it, and I think they should. I think they should. This is going to be a feel-good story for the ages. So we'll come back up and answer some questions and some of that stuff, but I just want to thank you again for letting me have this opportunity to be here. Chandra, thank you very much for letting me be a part of this.
Choir match in the city was where we were all in, and because we actually had another grant that we were pursuing that required a match. Well, it came out that when they released the notice of funding availability, the NOFA, it required a match. We went to the Muscogee Creek Nation, passed through the council unanimously. It's going to provide sidewalks all the way from Eugene and Creek Streets, which is the Claude Cox addition. It's going to have sidewalks from there all the way to the high school and then all the way back as far as the funding will go. There will be crosswalks. We're going to put a bridge over there where those apartments are. There's a big ravine. You see kids, going down, and what it is it's all part of Okmulgee Rising. It really is. Because now kids from that neighborhood will maybe ride their skateboard down the sidewalk to the skate park. Kids from the area where I live over on Bryan Street, they'll walk over to the park. It's just you have basically $1 million infrastructure investment on the north side of town. It hasn't happened. It hasn't happened in 30, 40 years. And real quickly, and I don't want to filibuster the meeting, but the town was founded on industry. It was founded on glass plants. It was founded on oil. My great aunt, who actually lived in one of her old houses, I bought 3 houses on the west side of town. She worked for the glass plant. Everybody worked for the glass plants. They retired from the glass plants. They retired from the refineries. When those jobs left, the middle class left. And so what happened, with an individual like Ron coming to town, we're reinventing ourselves. What's weird is we received the Phoenix Award for the north part of Okmulgee on the cleanup on the old refinery spot. And I always thought that was ironic because does anybody know what a phoenix bird does?
Yes.
Comes out of the ashes.
Constantly reinventing itself, constantly changing. That's what Okmulgee is doing now. We're constantly changing, and we went from an industry-driven economy to a service, tourist-driven economy that we see today. And that's why you have shops, you have barbershops, you have restaurants, you have people living upstairs. We're changing the dynamics of Okmulgee, and we're going from the old to the new, just like the phoenix bird. And that's what we're doing in Okmulgee. That to me is probably one of the bigger things that hasn't been said about Okmulgee Rising. We're reinventing ourselves, and that's happening every day.
Because I don't know if you can remember how my contract was. It was just like on this manifesto of trying to explain, here's what I think, or here's what I experienced happen in 10 years, we're going to see happen in Okmulgee in 3 or 4, which means Main Street's going to need some help, which means the city doesn't have a city planner. I've been fortunate to serve on planning and zoning for 6 years. I can help with that. And the college came back and said, wait a minute, that's not your job. Main Street, that's her job. I said, it's not Main Street's fault now that we're all of a sudden putting this tremendous burden on them. Even though it's a great burden, they're a one-man show at the time. Now she's 1.5 people. Everyone don't have people, that sound right. One person.
In a part-time.
One person in a part-time. So anyway, you see what my point is? It's going to take this mantra, this movement is going to be ahead of the city and the other leaders to catch up, because eventually, if you go to 102, for example, tonight, if you were to swing by there and you would see that it's packed, that sales tax is going to eventually hit the kitty to where they can afford to do more things. And the next restaurant, the next restaurant, the next thing. So I guess that was my point is that let's be patient, let's jump in and help. I'm doing things, quite honestly. The college is helping, it's paying me to do things that really a city employee should do, but the city can't afford to hire that employee yet. And so I'm experienced at it, so I can jump in there and say, let me jump in that meeting with you and try to help get it done. Chris is the same way. He should be getting paid on all of his positions,
Yeah.
but he's not. He's jumping in there. And so I have faith. I'm saying all that to say that I have faith that park will happen. I really do, guys. I really have a lot of faith. We've been talking lately we've been joking, some of us, that there's more consultants in Okmulgee per capita than anywhere in the country. There has been a lot of consultants that Main Street has hired. I've called some of my friends, just whatever, to come. We've got we're getting ready to embark on an incredible downtown parking plan. We're gonna looking at bike lanes. We're looking at some progressive things like reverse angle parking. We're looking at just a lot of things to make the downtown safer to walk. So getting all new striping. You're gonna see some new signs pretty soon. Instead of saying 2-hour parking that nobody pays attention to, it's gonna say free parking with an Okmulgee Rising logo on it. So you see all of these things are gonna, so there is a lot happening. It's just,
And
Yeah.